Wanted to talk a little bit more. Hold on, there we go. I just wanted to talk a little bit more. Hopefully the moonlight is enough to give me some light here. About the Syrian moderate opposition forces by definition. Most Americans were alive during this whole era, during this whole war on terror, and they don't know anything about any of this because they didn't give a shit. But what this was John McCain going over there to Syria and putting his arm around these guys, saying, these guys are good guys. I got pictures with my arm around them. These are good guys. Yeah, they're not terrorists. We're not funding, arming, and training terrorists to take down the government of Syria. No, these are the moderate rebels. And that's why when the Syrian ambassador to the United Nations went out on the floor and said these Syrian moderate rebels, these moderate Syrian opposition forces by definition, that have been brought in by Western countries, have these genetically modified Syrian moderate opposition forces by definition. Genetically modified soldiers have been implanted amongst them. See, what happened was we funded, armed, and trained a bunch of terrorists to take down the country of Syria and fight against the military and the official government forces that were the regime at the time. We were doing regime change in Syria. And what did we tell the people here in the United States? Oh, that Assad, he's an evil dictator. Look, he's attacking his own people. We're trying to save the people of Syria. While actually we're funding, arming, and training terrorists and calling them the moderate rebels. Yeah, we're not funding, arming, and training terrorists. These are the moderate rebels. Yeah, they're not terrorists. They're just moderate terrorists. Oh, really? By the looks of, guaranteed, all of the military and the establishment and the institution in Syria just calls them terrorists because they are functioning as terrorists trying to take down the government of Syria, and they were funded, armed, and trained by the United States and other Western powers in the coalition of the willing. Most Americans don't know shit about this. They're like, what? What are these moderate rebels you're talking about? Moderates? Who? What? Syrian opposition forces? What the fuck is that? What movie was that from? I didn't see that movie. Yeah, you missed it. Because you didn't give a shit. But you're gonna. Because right now, open borders, chickens are coming home to roost. And when they get here, you're all worried about, oh, look at all these military-aged men from all these different countries that are flooding into our country. A lot of these countries that they're coming from are the very ones that we bombed over the last 20 years during the Project for the New American Century. Yeah. I told you, you can't be an island of prosperity in a sea of despair forever. You have to keep building up the flood wall higher and higher to hold back that sea of despair and poverty. To maintain your island of prosperity in the sea of despair. Eventually, your island gets overrun by the sea of despair. And what we have here is a recipe for the perfect storm. And are those people going to be justified? They're sure going to feel like it. They are sure going to feel like they hold the moral high ground and justice is being had when they come to exact retribution for what has been done to them and their families within their country over the past 20 years. And you guys don't know anything about it because you didn't give a shit. Now you're going to. Because now it's going to affect you. And your comfort and convenience is about to disappear. And everything you held so dear disappears without a trace. Maybe you should have held principles. Maybe you should have had some morals and ethics in your standards of behavior instead of a total disregard, apathy, and indifference toward the pain and suffering of people in other countries, particularly when it's caused by your country and your military And you're too busy doing whatever's more important to you to pay any attention. You just pay your taxes and let them do whatever they do. And think that you can't be held accountable. They're the government. I'm powerless to do anything about whatever the government and the military decides they want to do. That's what they do. I have no say over it. Until then, you pretend you're in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and those are your public servants. That they are your slaves. They are your servants. And when it comes time to pay the Pied Piper, you're going to say, no, I was their slave. I have to do whatever the government tells me. I'm their servant. I can't tell them what to do. They tell me what to do. I'm powerless over the government. You can't possibly hold us, we the people, responsible for what our government did. We're powerless over them. Until then, we maintain this facade and pretend that they are our public servants and they do what we tell them to do, and that we're in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we elect them and they do whatever we tell them. Soon as it comes time to pay the price for what they've been doing that you told them to do, they're your public servants, suddenly you're all going to change your tune real quick. Oh no, I didn't tell them to do that. They do whatever, I do whatever they tell me. I'm their servant. I'm the slave. They're the master. Until then, you continue pretending otherwise. The price is going to be more than you can bear to afford. And the fact that you don't know anything about these Syrian moderate opposition forces, and you didn't pay attention to what was going on, that was all happening over there, so it didn't matter to you. It's coming to be over here. Now it's going to matter to you because it's going to affect your personal comforts and conveniences, and all you comfort junkies aren't going to get your next fix. Life's going to be real hard. Deservingly so. You reap what you sow. You will all get your just rewards. You thought you could continue in a world where there is no such thing as justice. We can do whatever the fuck we want, and no one's ever going to put a stop to it. Do you think the world is not going to cheer with joy and glee when they see the great Satan has been taken down? It's what the Muslim world refers to as the United States and Israel. The big horn and the little horn. The Zionist entity. All of those Western powers of the coalition of the willing. Remember freedom fries when the French wouldn't go along with our war on terror, and they said, no, we're going to sit this one out. We don't think it's really something we should join in on. And we said, fuck the French. We're not eating French fries or French toast anymore. It's freedom fries and freedom toast. We started breaking bottles of wine in the streets, doing these embargoes, doing these boycotts on French products like their wine. And even French toast and French fries, which aren't exactly products contributing to the French economy, was all symbolic. So we knew enough about it that when the French wouldn't go along with it and join us in the coalition of the willing, coalition of the killing, we said, fuck the French. We're eating freedom fries and freedom toast. Guess what? Consequences. Just a quick little add-on. There's a place in New Mexico called Truth or Consequences. Yeah, that's the name of the town. Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. That's a funny name to give a town, isn't it? Truth or Consequences? Huh? Wait a minute, it's in New Mexico. Is it right next to Roswell? And is that the truth that they're referring to? And that if you don't adhere to the truth, then there are consequences for abandoning the truth. Eventually it will catch up to you. That sonic boom, when you've been trying to go faster than the speed of truth and think that you can perpetually outrun it, eventually the truth catches up and there are consequences. And maybe that's what they mean when they named a town in New Mexico Truth or Consequences. What you just watched was a video that I filmed probably a month or two ago, and I just never uploaded it. It's been in my gallery ever since, but I thought it was pertinent because today it appears that there was an assassination attempt made on the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. And who do you think was behind that? Probably the same people that were behind the fake chlorine gas attack on the people of Syria, when we tried to use that as a context to justify our taking down of that country, because the butcher Assad is over there attacking his own people with chemical gases. And you could see from the video that was not chlorine gas, or the people would not have been walking around without hazmat suits unaffected by it. It was very obvious. Remember the white hats? The white helmets that would go take pictures? It was like they were doing some sort of internet challenge where they'd go pose in the middle of a battlefield. It was all ridiculous. But since there was an assassination attempt on President Assad today, and it's pretty fucking obvious before we ever even hear any of the details, who's behind it, that same entity, those same powers, that same coalition that's been trying to take him down for a long time. The only reason the country of Syria still stands and we haven't toppled their government is because Russia stepped in and said, "No, I don't think so," and defended them. So I thought today was a pertinent and appropriate day to upload this video, since there was that assassination attempt made today on the president of Syria. And this is where my journey all began, when I saw videos of these genetically modified soldiers. Because that day I saw two different videos where the ambassador, the Syrian ambassador to the United Nations, went out on the floor of the UN on two different occasions on two different dates. One time he spoke in English, one time he spoke in his native language. And both times he showed up and chastised all of the countries involved for importing cells of terrorists into their country and allowing this to continue, and announcing that these genetically modified Syrian moderate opposition forces, by definition, that have been brought into our country and imported, that's why I included the words by definition, because that's what you guys call them, but from what we can see, these aren't Syrians. These aren't local rebels that are unhappy with their government. That's all a ploy. The government isn't attacking their own people with gas. That's a ploy by the United States to fool their own people into thinking we're spreading some more freedom over there in Libya. Freedom from the dictator. And when this ambassador went out on the floor of the UN and chastised all the countries that are allowing this to happen, said we have captured genetically modified Syrian moderate opposition forces by definition, and some of them have been captured alive and will be sent back to where they came from. Guess what that means? That means here. And I looked up some videos of these GMO soldiers, and I saw that they're already embedded in our military. If I can find the link to some of my old videos showing that, links will be in the description. I'll look it up. I'll include the links in the description of these 10-foot tall giants that are embedded with our own military, wearing our military uniforms. One where the National Guard showed up at a fire at an AutoZone. A fire breaks out at an AutoZone and the National Guard shows up? Huh? Like they set the fire just to bring the National Guard out, just to parade these giants around and get it on film. And in this other video, you can see this guy's way taller than the Humvee that he's standing next to, and I wasn't sure if it was just optical illusion based on depth perception until I noticed the safety vest on this 10-foot tall soldier only goes to his belly button or above. On all the other soldiers, that same safety vest goes to their hips. Wasn't a depth perception issue. Those chickens are coming home to roost. And now that the border's wide open and everyone's worried about all these military-aged men coming in, the world's about to cheer. Because that war on terror for that project for a new American century that's been waged around the world for the last 20 years is about to come to an end. You should be on the side of history that wants to see that happen, even if it means you have to sacrifice your own comforts and conveniences. And all those slogans about support the truth, support the troops during war fever. When you find out that you're on the dark side, if you continue supporting the stormtroopers of the dark side, then you must be done away with along with the rest of them. That was my point of the statements about how we will quickly flip the script and change our tune and say, I couldn't do anything about the military. I couldn't do anything to control our government. They're the master. We're the slaves. Up until then, we're all pretending that those are our public servants and they do what we tell them to, and we're the masters, and we're spreading freedom and liberty, and we're buying the whole bullshit facade about how we're spreading freedom and liberty until it's time for consequences, and then we say, oh no, we don't have any freedom here. No, of course not. You can't hold me accountable. I'm the slave. Then why didn't you say something before while your country was spreading that freedom everywhere and acknowledge that you had none? That's consent. Your silence was consent. And so you deserve, all of us deserve, to enjoy, to participate in the consequences of what we have allowed through that consent, tacit consent. We were complicit, an accomplice, and it's about to come to an end.
Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Bernoon here with Israeli News Live. We have a breaking report coming out of the Middle East. AP News, along with Hal Turner and others, are reporting there has been an attack, an attempted assassination attack on President Bashar al-Assad of Syria. From what I understand right now, he was near a hotel there when a bomb went off near his motorcade with an attempted attack. And also there are other reports claiming that Iran is planning on doing a large-scale retaliation. I have a hard time believing that Iran would do that, but as I've always said, my intel from the Middle East there has said that if Iran feels like that Israel or the United States, that their attack is inevitable, that is when they will actually do business with Israel.
You'll have to forgive me, I misspoke and noticed that I said Libya instead of Syria, but that's just another country that we did the same thing in to Gaddafi. Notice how much taller these guys in the black suits, ISIS, are, how much taller they are than the prisoners. That's in Egypt. Those are Coptic Christians that they're marching to their death. Look back through the line. All of them stand a good 2 feet higher than the guys that they're grabbed by the neck. This is Fox News. ISIS, army of 7-footers? Experts say video of Copt beheadings may be manipulated. Remember all those videos of all those beheadings? I'm not going to play any of it. They were gruesome. Some of it may have been green screen. In fact, some of it surely was green screen. We saw videos of guys cutting out the heart. This picture you're looking at here is from Egypt. We saw videos of guys, these ISIS fighters, and remember when Trump got into office, he said Obama's the founder of ISIS and Hillary's the co-founder, and we elected him as president. There was plenty of videos of these ISIS fighters cutting the heart out of the dead soldiers, I believe they were Syrian soldiers, and eating them. And at first I thought, that's just psychological warfare to strike fear and terror in the heart of your enemy. And then we saw another video, and another video, where they're not even knowing that they're on camera. They're being filmed from around the corner, having to zoom in to see what's happening. And you can see that they're cutting up the bodies of the dead soldiers. GMO, grown in a lab. No hard feelings, no second thoughts. They just do it. I'll include the link to this article over here on Fox News, and you can watch the beheadings if you want. And now I'm going to show you a couple other quick videos showing you these giants in the United States military uniforms. Big shout out to Hidden Underbelly. This is his video from a while back. And you know it's not a depth perception issue because they're standing along the curb line. You can see the line of the curb. They're both within inches of that curb. The guy next to him doesn't even come up to his shoulder. This one may be a depth perception issue. The last one definitely was not. They were both along the curb line, and the first one I showed you was a long line of these giant soldiers, all of whom towered over the guys that they were marching down the beach, and the guys they were marching down the beach were presumably 6 foot tall on average. And thus those guys dressed up in the black uniforms that we were the founders of, that Obama was the founder of ISIS, all of those guys, and there was plenty of them, of examples, they were probably 8 feet tall on average. They stood at least a couple foot taller than the guys that they were marching. And the Fox News article, there's videos out there too of them talking about this on Fox News saying, what are these guys, all basketball players? Why are they so much taller than the Coptic Christians in Egypt? They supposedly all came from the same place.
So, the rumors about American giants from United States Army base in South Korea are just confirmed to be true thanks to this incredible footage obtained by Igor Krayan. Military Humvee height is over 6 feet or almost 2 meters. If you install 4 feet or 1 meter tall HMG on Humvee roof or 50 caliber heavy machine gun like you are seeing here now, the total weight of vehicle would be almost 10 feet or over 3 meters. This soldier, towering above the other soldiers and 10 feet Humvee with HMG on top, making his height close to 12 feet or 4 meters tall, also making him real Nephilim giants. The military intelligence insider said they secretly created those Nephilim soldiers in this lab and brought them to South Korea to intimidate North. Average height of North Korean soldiers only slightly above 5 feet or 1.5 meters. And the United States military intelligence is trying to scare them out of the battle with 12 feet or 4 meters tall giants. But this giant sight also makes them a good target on the battlefield.
The average American who is politically aware and paying attention today recognizes that we are in a proxy war with Russia in Ukraine. We're fighting with Russia through Ukraine. Very few are aware of that we just did the same thing, fighting against Russia through Syria, that we were in a proxy war with Russia a short time ago as we were trying to take down Syria, and Russia stepped in and stopped us. Take a good long look at these ISIS fighters that all appear to be at least 1.5 feet, if not 2 foot tall, taller than the prisoners that are held captive. Fox News says it's somehow computer-generated images or something. I think we're about to find out the truth, and those chickens are going to come home to roost. And we should have been paying attention. Like the Syrian ambassador said, some of them have been captured alive, these genetically modified Syrian moderate opposition forces by definition. Some of them have been captured alive on the battlefield and will be sent back to the origin from whence they came.